Just 42 seconds. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hello, welcome, my friend. Here is a presentation on all about SAT 2021. The season coming up, you may be interested in knowing what is the change in the pattern. In fact, there is a revision in the pattern as well, right? So from 2019 to 2020, there is a change in the pattern. And from 2020 to 2021, again, there is another change in the pattern. It's because of the home proctored way of dealing with the thing, right? So that this year in 2021, it has been, you would be writing it in the home proctored format, right? Considering that, keeping that in mind, let's also see what could be the challenges and what is the kind of a pattern that you are going to write out here. Of course, it's going to be a much faster test, as you all might be knowing it, because it is just for about 1 year, the aptitude part of it is for about an hour, and then maybe 30 minutes for the VAT, right? So that's broadly, I will come to it. So even before we go there, let's try and understand a little bit about the Symbiosis International University. Definitely it is one of the one of the good universities under which there are a couple of good colleges which offer a decent course in the management studies for the undergraduates as well as for the masters. Right. Let's particularly look at this particular test, which is to pursue undergraduate programs. It's an entry-level test. If you look at the undergraduate programs, naturally, like most of you, those who are planning to take this particular test, SAT 2021, you would be looking more at the BBA as a program, maybe BSc Economics as a program. Let's keep these two major courses that has been offered by some of the colleges under this university. And here is what I was talking about, the intake perspective in some of these colleges. Maybe the first one, the Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, Pune, is one of the really good colleges under the Symbiosis International University, which offers BBA course and 240 seat for Indian nationals, and over and above there are 60 seats for NRIs as well. So I'm talking about from the international national perspective, therefore I mentioned it as about 240 seats. And Symbiosis School of Economics, which is also in Pune, that offers the BSc as a course, BSc Finance or BSc as a course, particularly in finance. So generally, when you look at the BBA and BSc, one of the sought after courses is, of course, the finance, right? And there are a few other colleges which I have listed out here, and they also have a college. They also have the Institute of Computer Studies and Research, right, which offers a course in BCA and also BBA in IT. So you want to understand more about the courses. I don't talk more about the courses in this presentation. I'll be focusing more on the exam highlights. But if you're interested in more about the courses, how is BBA IT different from the BBA being offered? So I would like to go to their website, the college website, and take a look at their course curriculum. And not only that, okay, this entrance test, if you're also looking at BA in mass communication, all right, so this is the entrance test that you can take. So technically you are looking for 4 different kind of courses. One is BBA, the other one is BSc in economics, right? And then this is technically BSc in economics, eco, right? BSA in economics, one of the sought after courses. Then you have BA in mass communication, BBA or BCA, all right, which is from the IT background. And they also have a campus in Noida. So most of these campuses are based out in Pune, but they have a campus in Noida. So of course, the course offered, BBA course offered there is really, really, although they are doing good. I mean, the course offered is good. Therefore, the industry interface is also pretty good. Even at Noida, not just in Pune. Here we go. This is from the intake perspective. It gives a brief idea that, okay, these are the kind of seats that are there. Let's now take a look at the quick eligibility as such. If you look at the eligibility, yeah, that's just the eligibility before you fill the form. While you are filling that form, it asks for, you should have scored about 50% in HSC. That's your 12th standard. So that's the eligibility criteria. And unlike NPAT, is math as a subject mandatory? No, it is not mandatory here. Right? Reservation, yes. So unlike most other colleges, private colleges, Symbiosis, when historically has this reservation policy. So if you look at it, SC has a reservation of 15%, ST has 7.5%, right? And differently abled people have a reservation of about 3%. And the Kashmiri migrants, there could be about 2 or 3 seats, right? So they have a very standard reservation policy, and the rest of it is for the general category. So you can roughly say that, hey, about 25%, somewhere closer to the 25% of the seats are reserved. So general category is remaining 75%. There is no NC OBC, so rest is considered as general. So that's a very standard reservation policy. Generally, the Symbiosis International University follows for most of its colleges and most of its courses. All right. Coming to the outcome, so let's say, okay, if I go through the 3 years program offered in these colleges under this university, what are the kind of recruiters? If you particularly do well, so you find that some of these financial services companies or some of these analytics based companies or the consulting based firms, so more in the roles more in the field of finance, right? Now these are the top recruiters here. You might you might be familiar with some of these names. Not familiar, probably you can learn more about those names as well. So I would say that, okay, why don't you Google a little bit and try and understand what these companies are into from the perspective of the final outcome. So these are some of the top recruiters out there. And if you look at that, the opportunities are more in the space of banking, or banking and finance, or in the area of analytics. These are the two areas where most of the opportunities, most of the opportunities are provided when you are a part of this particular university. I'm not saying that, okay, there is nothing in the marketing or sales, of course, but that is not the that's not the majority of the placements are into, but majority of them are into finance or analytics. That's a kind of areas that we are kind of looking at. What is what is the average figures of the placements per annum kind of look like? So you can take a look at SCMS, SCMS as one of their top-notch colleges under the university, which offers BBA program. Right, this is how the placement figures for the concluded season look like. So also, like if you look at the economics, their BSc economics course that is offered by economics course offered, this is how the placement figures could look like. So so if you are looking at, okay, I will do this program, there are two types. So one, you might complete the course and you would like to explore the industry for about a couple of years, maybe 1 or 2 years before you further take up your higher studies. Most likely it would be in the field of MBA. Or you might be thinking that, no, I will directly jump on to MBA right after my graduation. Either ways, right, so coming or passing out of this university would definitely have a better image from both the perspectives. So one, from the industry perspective, if you are going back to the industry, naturally industries recognize the course offered, the colleges under this university. Even when you are going for prestigious colleges to pursue an MBA course, naturally in the interviews, the professors also give a kind of professors, when they look at the good colleges that you are coming from, that you are an alum of a good college, surely already now that also kind of adds to your image while you are giving an interview in one of the top management institutes or colleges, right? So keeping that in mind, yes, the industry interface or the higher education after you pursue a course here. So either ways, it makes sense. Coming to the test pattern, okay, so all looks good, but then like if I were to get into this particular university, into some of the top colleges in this university, how do I do that, right? That's a question. So there is this year, if you look at 2021, it's a really, already now it's going to be a rapid test kind of, because it's about only 60 minutes. 60 minutes kind of flies if you are not really mindful about it. You can't have an issue of cold start, etc., because some people generally would have a cold start first 5-10 minutes. They would be a little slow, they unleash themselves into the exam. No, you should have done a couple of warm-ups and then you walk into this particular test, because you just have about 60 minutes to perform and get your good scores. Right, so let's also look at what are the kind of skills that they are looking at in this particular test. Right, these are the kind of skills that they are looking at. One, the general English, 16 questions. Right, quantitative ability, 16 questions. General awareness, current affairs or GK that we call it popularly, is about 16 questions. Then logical and analytical ability, about 12 questions. Right, this is the kind of a testing pattern that they have. This is the pattern of tests, and that's for 60 minutes. 60 questions. So what is the scoring pattern? So which means how many marks per question? It is 1 mark per question if you get it right. If you attempt and get it right, 1 mark. And what if you get it wrong? There is no penalty. So therefore you may think that, okay, therefore can I attempt all 60 questions there? Yeah, of course you can, because there is no negative marking. And what if I leave a question unattempted? Still there is no penalty, right? So 1 mark per question. So if you get it right, you grab that 1 mark. So if you don't get it right and you don't attempt, 0 marks for it. That's simply put, it's a 60 marks section. Right, so right immediately after that, you would be taking a VAT. So I will talk a little more about it, about each parameters of this particular test in a while from now. Before we do that, let's kind of quickly understand the scoring pattern. We kind of understood, hey, what is the weightage for the VAT? I will come to it in a while. So weightage for the VAT, I'll come to it. The scoring pattern for the aptitude part of the test, we kind of discussed. Is there a sectional timing? If there are 4 sections, sometimes you may think, okay, out of these 60 minutes, have they put a sectional time limit so that I have to look through that particular section within that time frame? No, there is no sectional time limit. You can navigate between the sections. So therefore it becomes very important that you think about how much time you want to spend on each of these sections. How do you arrive at that? Based on your own SWOT. Right, so what you are good at, what you are not good at, because somewhere you've got to get your good scores, overall good score. At the same time, you have to perform reasonably well across this particular section to make the overall score look better. So therefore, this has to be worked at the back end by you. Sure, Alit, in the future, we will come out with the test-taking strategy session on ACT, which means how you make a strategy, because it depends from strength to strength of the individuals. For a simple reason that someone who is particularly good at general English, but not so good when it comes to quantitative ability, how they would have approached this particular test. Reverse, somebody very good at quantitative ability, but not so good at English, general English, how that person could have looked at it. We will consider some of these scenarios and talk about the test-taking strategy that will give a brief but a broad idea about how you should do the time allocation for each of these sections. You need to be mindful about it. So therefore, so there is no sectional time limit. It's left to the test taker. So you got to decide how much time you want to allocate for each section. So that has to be decided beforehand. You can't do it on the test time because it's just about 60 minutes. It just flies. So you got to decide that better and stick to those time limit. And it is done based on your own understanding of your strengths and not so strengths, not so stronger areas. What about the difficulty level? Oh, honestly, this is one of the easiest tests when you compare in its league. When I'm talking about its league, what are that we are talking about? We may, it's a BBA. You are appearing for BBA or BSc economics kind of courses. So naturally, already some of the tests that you'll be taking is IP MAT, indoor, or IP MAT, ROTAC, or it can be NPAT, or Christ BBA, or it could be this SET, right? So when we consider these 4 or 5 exams at the national level or at the university level, This is one of the easiest exams. So when I say easy, I'm taking the relative call. So I would say that, hey, this is the exam all at which you can do really well with reasonable preparation. You don't have to go really heavy, put in heavy kind of preparation. But if you reasonably prepare, you should be able to ace this particular exam, right? So from the difficulty level perspective, I would say it's more towards easy. Some questions of medium difficulty level or moderate difficulty level you could face, but most of the questions are going to be straightforward and easy. Okay, coming to the good score, historically, if you look at it, what is the good score? See, this is the first time it is coming in this particular pattern, right? 60 minutes, 60 questions. Therefore, we don't have a, well, we don't have the history to this saying that, hey, what previous years in 60 minutes, what did the people perform? Because previous paper was for 90 minutes and paper before that could be for about 150 minutes. Therefore, it was a different kind of papers what we have seen. But then what remained constant is about 60 to 65% if you score, right? If you score whatever is the total marks of the paper, about 60 to 65%, if you just analyze the last 5-year papers, right, you can kind of come to a conclusion that 60 to 65% will be the cutoff for the SCMS, which is the top-notch college. So if you look at the 60% of 60 marks, I'm talking about this, so therefore it's about 36 marks, right? So about 35 to 36 marks should be the cutoff. Cutoff means the minimum expected performance for their top-notch college, which is SCMS. Similarly, for every other college, it can be about 2 marks less, right? 1 to 2 marks less, right, based on the colleges that you are looking at. So, for example, if you ever want to go back to that particular slide and take a look at the colleges, say if I'm saying that, okay, this year, I'm not saying that should be the figure because it also depends on the difficulty level, number of test takers, many parameters go in. But if I were to give you a ballpark figure, right? So SCMS might have somewhere about 35, 36 could be the cutoff, let's say. So that's the expected performance, somewhere around that, right? So, but then Symbiosis School of Economics could be about 35 or 34, maybe 1 or 2 marks less. Similarly, what about the Symbiosis School of Liberal Arts? Already would like to do a BBA from there. Could be little lesser, maybe about 33, 34, somewhere around that particular range, right? So you can say it should be somewhere about 35. A good performance should be getting around 35 marks. If you target about 35 marks, it would be a good target that you can set for yourself around that particular figure, which is not really difficult in this kind of paper if you put in a reasonable effort in the given reasonable efforts in this area, the mentioned 4 areas. All right, so that's about the good score. And if you look at the selection process for most all these colleges, what is the selection process? Eligibility process is different. Don't confuse with the selection process. The eligibility is in HSC, you should get 50%. But when you look at the selection process, they have three major parameters coming to selection process. One is your test score alone, which has a weightage of about 50%. So different colleges, little different here and there. I'm saying that on an average, right? So average, it's about most of it, right? So we're looking at the top 3 colleges. It's about 50% is the weightage for your SET test. Whatever scores that you get, that will have a weightage of 50%. Then the other important parameter is your interviews. The panel from the college will take your interview to understand why you would like to pursue this course. So a few questions just to understand your background, what you've been doing so far, what are the kind of skills that you have learned other than your academic skills, extracurriculars, co-curriculars, which they would like to understand. So that is about 30%. That's a personality which gets about 30% weightage. And VAT is about 20% weightage. So this is the kind of weightage based on which you get the final selection, right? 50% for test, and then 30% for PI, and about 20% for VAT. That's something that you may have to keep it in mind. And when you come to the important topics, let's say that when I come to the topics for the SET I'm talking about, right? So 3 major areas when it comes to general English. One, your reading skill. The second one is your vocabulary. The third one is your grammar. So broadly put, these are the 3 major components of any language skill. In fact, the 2 major components are English and grammar. So naturally putting them together forms your reading comprehension or parajumbles or paras completion, right? These are the skills built on that para reading comprehension Parajumbles. Parajumbles is what a couple of sentences are given, about 4 or 5 sentences given. You have to arrange them, sequence them to form a coherent paragraph, right? Para completion is say about if there are about 4 sentences, 3 sentences have been given, which means the build-up has been given. They're asking that what should be the next sentence which follows this. So how do you complete it? So if these are the 3 sentences which have already come up, what should be the 4th sentence, right? So that's a para completion. And of course, all the rest is to do with grammar and vocab. So if you are fairly comfortable with grammar and vocab, probably you may have to quickly work a little bit on para jumbles and para completion skills, and that could conclude your verbal ability skills. Right, coming to the, when you look at the quantitative section, you have all types of questions coming, right? It could be from the percentage, profit loss, SICI, averages. Now with 16 questions coming up, you could rather say that, hey, there should be about a dozen varieties. Maybe some areas there could be repetitive questions. From number system, you may find about 2 questions. Hey, number system is not number series, it is number system. It's something to do with the remainders, something to do with the LCM, HCF, applications built on that is what we call it as number systems. Right, so number systems about couple of questions, percentages 1 or 2, SICI maybe 1, profit loss about 1 or 2, like that. So generally now you can expect that, hey, there could be just 1 odd question because there are only 16 questions now, and maybe some of the important areas there could be 2 questions. As I said, maybe from numbers you can expect 2 questions or 3 questions, right? Yeah, likewise some areas they may plug and play with a couple of questions, otherwise you can expect just 1 question from most of these areas. Right, and if you look at the logical skills or the reasoning skills, again it is spread across, right? But there is both verbal reasoning and there is non-verbal reasoning. So you have all kinds of reasoning out here. So when you look at the language-based reasoning, you have statement, argument, then assertion, reasons, right? So then statement, conclusion, fact, inference, judgment. Likewise, I'll let you know you have varieties of questions coming up from the language perspective as well, which we call it as a verbal logic or verbal reasoning, whichever way you call it. Then you have questions on sequences or arrangement. It could be seating arrangement, right? Different kinds of arrangement or puzzles built on that, short puzzles, very short puzzles built on that, right? And then selections, which means you are selecting a team. There are a couple of conditions given, right? All types of reasoning questions I'm talking about, which includes your clocks and calendars, or it could be your series, direction sense, blood relationship, varieties of subjects. Now you say that this year probably with about just 12 questions under this particular section, but there would be varieties. Each variety you may find just about 2 questions or 1 question kind of, that should take you to about 12 questions, right? Very few questions, therefore how it will spread really thin this particular year. So you may have to prepare on all the areas, knowing that just 1 question may come from each area. So don't leave any areas this particular year. So because there are, especially if you are prepared looking at 2021, don't undermine any area, because from each area you may just get about 1 question. And of course, as I told you, it's really elementary. The questions that they ask are very fundamental, very elementary in nature. And let's take a look at now VAT, because once you conclude those 60 minutes of your aptitude section, you got to write 30 minutes of your VAT section, as we know, right? So this is introduced just last year, that is 2020, right? 2020 is when it got introduced, and this is the second time that this is the second year that they are doing it. This section is evaluated only for those students who clear the cutoff score. As I told you, the cutoff score for SCMS could be about 36 and so on, maybe notch below for other colleges. So keeping that in mind, assuming that, okay, you get that kind of cutoff score, only their essays will be evaluated to add that additional weightage of 20%, as I told in the beginning. But generally has a weightage of about 20% across these colleges that we spoke about. Right, so not for everyone there, because this is based on this, the selection is not made. Your selection for the interview is only based on the aptitude test. So you will get the interview call, but the VAT is considered when you are getting the final admission. That has 20% weightage for the final admission. There are 2 stages of selection basically, right here. So if you look at this, it's a descriptive type. You may have to type in, you may have to write in, or it's a descriptive type test for 30 minutes. You want to understand more about it, go to the website and have, or once you register, you will anyway receive all that communication. So it's a 30 minutes descriptive test. and you'll be given two topics, and you will talk. You can select one out of those two topics, and you can write about that particular topic. How to write a VAT? We will definitely have a session on that. What kind of questions, so what kind of topics can be asked in the VAT right now? So some of the popular topics, we will definitely go through it in some other lecture. We will go through that, some other short video we will do on that. So what kind of topics you can expect from business and economic space, what kind of topics you can expect from social and cultural space, right? What kind of topics that you can expect from the current affairs space, right? So we will try and talk about it, and how do you write about them. So how many words? Generally about 400 to 500 words is what you can write in about 30 minutes time. So therefore, how do you organize that 400 words? All that we will talk when we are doing a short session on how to approach VAT. Right, so that brings to the end of the presentation. And if you are looking at any short self-learning course, here are the 4 courses in the space of CLAT. And IPM is technically from the BBA perspective. Even if you are looking from a BBA perspective, it can be NPAT, or it could be even SET. All these exams will be branded as BBA IPM. It doesn't necessarily mean only IPM. Sure, IPM is what we are looking at. That's a goal. But then yes, once we prepare for it, we would be able to handle all other exams, or be it NPAT, be it Christ MBA, be it SET, Symbiosis. So we would be able to handle all of them. So you could go through our website, probably understand a little more about the offerings of this particular course. And if you're looking at some tests, because the testing season, if you're already prepared and you're just looking at, hey, I just want some mocks to be written, yes, we have the packages on the mock, whether it's for BBA or whether it is for CLAT. So in this segment, so we have the mock test series. So quickly register. You can visit our website. Also, you can visit on this link which is given here, and then you can understand how many tests have been provided under each package. Right? You can also try the free trial course, a 1-week free trial course. So you can reach out to us. We will help you how you can avail the 1-week free trial course, either it for CLAT or BBS space. So here I conclude this. So good to have you here. So I will see you once again with some other video on in the space of UG entrance test. So keep watching out for this particular space. We are coming out with exciting course on the online space, where we'll be covering both BBA and CLAT, some exciting stuff, that is the exciting concepts, the important concepts. So that's what we were planning to revise in the next couple of weeks. Keep watching this space. Have a good time. Bye.